Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here. We'll call to order our August 1st meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Let's see, we've got a couple of reports that are in the packet, and I didn't get any requests to elevate any consent items. So we will get started then with our first item, which is a fire update from Chief Schaefer.
Good afternoon, Council. I will still. All right, let's try that again. Does that work upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. Just extremely brief today because I know you have a long agenda. We have had an increased amount of wildland fires. As you might have noticed, the weather will be changing this week from traditionally just simply hot. We've seen nearly all the moisture of our 1 hour fuels disappear. So in one day, I think we had 4 arson fires in the Erie and Sprague area downtown. They were with the police department's help. They were assisting us in trying to find the person responsible. However, that was not successful. So over the next couple days, the environment will change from a cold front entering the Spokane area, and we will have some high winds over the next couple days. So definitely wildland season, definitely have been pushing out a lot of information on the importance of, like Council Member Wilkerson's email the other day about reducing the fuels around our community's homes, making sure that the community's infrastructure, including ours, is 30 feet of distance around those homes to protect them if they're near the interface, and just really start using or start making some really smart decisions when moving and using fire outside. So you may have seen the burn ban that's been in place, and our response has changed from a moderate to a high. So we are in high danger fire season, and our personnel are certainly being ready and equipped for that. Do you have any questions that I can answer for the fire department at this point?
Any questions?
Okay, that's it then. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Well, Chief, while you're there, so what's been your response from the fire department, again, around heat-related incidences over the last 3 days or 4 days?
Great question. Yesterday there was 2. The day before there was 0. I think our highest day with emergency medical calls related to heat illnesses has been around 5. The most serious of all of those responses has been one person that was an employee that was working outside. So far, people are doing a great job checking on those vulnerable people that are at home, in contrast to what happened last year when a number of our fatalities occurred, people that were at home with their windows shut and really not observing those best practices. So check on those vulnerable people and make sure you stay hydrated and definitely stay out of the sun if you certainly can.
All right, thank you.
Chief, while you're there, do you want to give us the update on Stryker? Do the briefing on that?
I will go get my iPad if that's okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay. Well, thanks for allowing me to do this. I think these are actually my only 2 items. So we have an opportunity, and I think when I addressed the council before the EMS levy, we talked and we were questioned by the community of, so what? What is this EMS levy going to do for us? What improvements are you going to make? And what we're facing with our biomedical equipment, specifically with laryngoscopes and our cardiac monitors and the systems that support those cardiac monitors, all of that is very, very, very expensive. The cardiac monitor, I'll just have Kurt actually hold up, Lieutenant Van Devender hold up a cardiac monitor. This is one of the cardiac monitors. We have around 30 or so in the system, and each one can cost up to about $35,000. Now, we use those on every single call. They've got the ability to deliver specific amounts of energy, read and interpret EKGs, take a number of varying type of analytics about what your body's doing and how they respond to the medications and the treatment, the therapies that our paramedics give. They all have a deadline. They all need to be replaced. We have 4 different versions in our system currently because oftentimes with the EMS levy, it allows us the opportunity to purchase capital, to invest in the system. The difference between now and 6 years ago or 12 years ago is that pace of technology and availability of logistics to build that technology has been just turned upside down. What we're seeing in healthcare more and more and more is companies, specifically clinics and hospitals and EMS systems, invest in technology, and that will allow them to update it every time that there's an update, because you know as well as anybody else that nothing is getting cheaper anymore, especially with travel. So with the intent of the project that we're bringing forward to you, we intend to refresh 100% of our system with the latest technology that's available from the company that we've used since 1978. That includes data, quality improvement, and quality assurance technology that will connect them wirelessly, which we currently don't have. So in order for our electronic patient care records that we carry in a device like this to be able to talk to the LifePak 15 or its soon-to-be replaced LifePak 35, or to the AMR LifePak 15, or to the other device, they need a network and they need the capability to be able to communicate. This will allow us to do that. It also allows us to make this investment smartly and spread it out over a period of 10 years with a refresh during the 10 years that will update the entire system to the latest technology. And it aligns us or sets us up for future technology because we're already a part of the system. Now again, right now when the contract will get signed with the vendor, we'll replace 27 total LifePak 15s, 48 total LifePak 1000 AEDs, and then we'll upgrade our existing system, which is almost 10 years old, for video laryngoscopy or laryngoscopes, one of the highest risk procedures that we do, and we're currently using antiquated technology that probably like 4 versions or so behind where we should be. All of that equipment is detailed in the one-pager that I shared with Councilmember Cathcart when I first arrived. It allows us to bundle all of the needs for the system, take an all-care, an all-inclusive look in terms of labor, shipping, and all of the service and maintenance, battery support, and items that go along with keeping the system in place and ready. We have an obligation with the RCW and with agencies like Medicaid and Medicare to be able to prove that these devices are biomedically certified twice a year and that they're able to deliver what they're supposed to deliver. The company does all that for us as they do today. If we were to pay as we go, which we have done in years past, we would essentially be paying about $642, is the most conservative estimate, $1,000 more than investing in this plan, which takes a longer view, and we get the automatic refresh to be able to replace the whole system when the technology changes. That was very encouraging for me, realizing I won't be here for 10 more years, but if there's something that we can do to set up the system so that it keeps up with this changing technology, that's what I think our jobs are to do, is to be able to look to the future. Obviously, the one-pager has a little bit more information, but it is fairly bulleted. There's a contract that is going to be placed in on base, and there's a briefing paper as well that's on base, and I can answer any questions at this point if you have any.
Questions for Chief Schaefer?
Was that a teaser?
Well-
You're not going to be here in 10 more years? What was that?
No, I am not.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah, thanks for allowing us to look towards the future a little bit. Councilmember Zappone?
I was just wondering if I could ask a question about the cooling center out at Camp Hope.
Yeah, sure.
The fire inspector, did they go and actually do an inspection of the site over the last week or so?
The fire marshal
No, sorry,
is
yeah.
unable to do an official inspection because there hasn't been a permit that has been pulled. However, I've been there every day, and I go there in the evening. We did find some challenges that represented a risk to life. They willingly changed it for us. One was a CO. The exhaust for the generators were getting pulled in by the fans, and that had some folks sick. That was taken care of by the folks on site. and just small things that we've been able to work with them. And I check, like I said, I check in every night. So we're doing what we can. We've shared some first aid supplies with them, dropped off water, done a lot of physical presence from the operational side of the house. But right now, nothing's changed in terms of the notice of violation and just waiting for the designated adult to work those out for between the city and the state.
Chief, when you're present there, how many would you estimate are using the cooling?
About 20. About 20, and they have beds set up, and the beds are arranged perfectly. They have people in there that are more than qualified to take care of the people that are coming in for respite, just to get in out of the heat. There's a large amount of water that they're providing people, and they've got huge swamp coolers, big fans that are moving air. So, you know, what we would go into, like if there was a permit, like if your business or any of your businesses, we have an obligation to follow the state law. So pull a permit, we go and inspect, we make sure that the electrical is safe, so we're not going to get anybody electrocuted. We're going to make sure that the contents of what is inside there, whether it's people or combustibles, are placed in the correct way. We're also going to make sure that structurally, that whatever it's made out of passes the fire code's requirements, so it doesn't carry fire and it doesn't represent a risk, and then also that it's constructed in a safe way that it won't collapse. I mean, all of the rules around tents that the state's adopted are all consequences of people getting hurt from another similar event. That's all that's all the notice of violation is for. That's what we have a permit system for. So I think we're just waiting for the state, or we'll just say the stakeholders, to work through that, and then we'll be more than happy to do a formal inspection.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're waiting on. So, yeah, any other questions for the chief?
I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole, so this is my last question. As touring through the camp, there obviously are many fire safeties within the camp itself. So why haven't we went in and, which I'm going to call the health district also, something has been said around that particular piece?
About, you mean
So
the,
just
the
within
camp
the
in
camp,
general?
yes.
We have. So, again, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
either. Thanks for calling me
Yeah.
there. But there has been a fire there. If you weren't familiar, we had a pretty significant fire there. And fortunately, it happened at a time when people noticed it. Started in a couch. It was purposely set, spread to an RV, and by the grace of whomever, it was able to be stopped. We have made attempts to go into the camp a number of times, and I think I've reported to you before that we've been met with machetes, cleavers. Our members have felt for their own safety, so we've had to change our response paradigm there to add 2 engines and a battalion chief on every response to that location. And without the property owner's request, we can't simply go on that property and do an inspection. I think what we would like to do, and what Jamie McIntyre is working on now, is especially with the red flag that's coming, is we're going to spend more time in public education, probably some laminated boards, some information to try to make connections with them. Just, this is the worst possible time with 30-mile-an-hour winds to be burning anything. So we're going to try to spend some time there and working with them. And again, when I say the safety part, this is not everybody in that camp, just as like our shootings aren't everybody in the community. We all have a criminal element that is a minority in Spokane. And that is the same what the police department are dealing with out on the streets, or the same what we're dealing with in that camp. And we're just trying to protect our people and deliver the best service that we can. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks, chief.
All right, thank you.
And I'm going to go a little out of order because I want to make sure that folks who don't need to sit here all day don't have to. So next up, Joe, I don't know if you're ready to go. Our former council president, Joe Shogan, is here to present on a project he's got going called Project Compassion.
Project Compassion is based on a concept of doing baby steps with the homeless to get the most serious mentally ill people off sidewalks. For instance, people with a shirt on, et cetera. It's not a new concept. The city actually did something called Hope Works with Goodwill about 2018, and it's sort of like a paddy wagon concept, which, by the way, I've learned still occurs. We still have a detox, if you want to say, van that goes around, picks up people that have OD'd or are inebriated and take them to detox. It's very cost-effective, makes sense. This concept is extended out a little bit. I started thinking about it in the winter, which would be to get people in some kind of shelter. You get 2 old school buses, 2 porta potties, security, sleeping bags. And then it occurred to me that we have really health issues outside all year round. Heat, smoke, dust. So this plan, Project Compassion, is formed by a group of out-of-the-box folks. We're not affiliated with anybody. We have Representative Andrew Riles of DSP, Scott Cooper of Catholic Charities, Ray Lynn Martin of VOA, Councilmember Stratton, and we just got together to think, what can we do? So this is sort of an update on Hope Works. The plan, again, is to get the most serious homeless off sidewalks and transport them to either House of Charity or Women's Hearth, or to appointments they may have and don't have the ability to get there. It's strictly downtown. It would be 9 to 5, 6 days a week. And that coincides with business interests, et cetera. Nobody wants people laying on the sidewalk during the day. And the biggest issue, and I'll tell this right now to the council, where you shelter in the out in East Trent, people are living in shopping carts. There must be 30 or 40 of them. That's their whole life, and you're not going to get them. We're going to kind of do a little survey for you guys without their shopping carts. So if you think you're going to put 150 people out at the shelter, I don't want to stay with that, we're going to be doing some really information gathering for the council to say, I've counted 30 or 40 shopping carts. And if that's your home, you ain't going to want to leave your home. So unless there's going to be a semi picking up these shopping carts, you're going to have an issue. The other thing this will do is build trust. We're going to find out who people are that accept just going to House of Charity or Women's Hearth by a van with a social worker. So the needs are 2 disability-equipped vans. SDA, through Andrew Wells' contact, is willing to donate the vans, which I imagine they probably did with Project or Hope Works. Social workers, through Kelly Thomas, we found out that the fire department, to their credit, has got a project called CARES Team, and they go check up on not only people on the street, but in apartments, and they use Eastern Washington grad students or interns. So we're hoping to tap in on that. As far as security, the premise is health and welfare powers of the city. It's not arrest, get off the sidewalk, or obstructing. I mean, if we go around, with a uniformed officer, they're going to look at that and go, I'm not getting on that van. So we do request that we'll make aware to the 2 cop shops downtown that we may be calling just to keep us in mind. But if we have anybody that's sat on ruling, fine, you want to stay where you are, that's what you're going to do. The cost would be drivers, and the big problem right now is finding drivers. So we may try to go to retired people, or there may be people out there that are licensed van drivers that may need just the opportunity, if they've got qualified, just like the Catholic Charities uses their best patrons as trustees. So there's that aspect of it. And then I think just tank of gas a month. I mean, we're only going to do this from, let's say, Brown's Addition to Division. And probably not in the downtown area, but certainly 2nd and 3rd. So it's kind of a baby step, see what we find. And once we get it formalized, we'll make a presentation to the council for probably some kind of financial assistance. If the council can't do it, we'll go back to the business community. It's to their benefit. So again, 9 to 5, 6 days a week, and we'll see what we can do.
And so essentially, you'd be looking for support for hiring those drivers and then
Yeah,
perhaps
that seems to
fuel.
be the biggest issue right now,
Okay.
and gasoline,
Yeah.
a tank of gas. So it'll be a good preamble. If we can pull this off, then you may have a good response on getting on buses and going out east. But if we can't get anybody to just get on a van in the city, then I think the city's going to have some real challenges with their new shelter. So I really appreciate you allowing me to I got a blood bank interview, so.
Quick question.
Congresswoman Stratton.
I just want to let you know that SNAP also has a car service, and I'll get some information and forward that to you,
Okay, great.
that people can call and get taken somewhere, but they might have some good insights.
So again, we're not affiliated with anybody. There's no conflicts of interest here. We're strictly out of the box. It's just kind of good Samaritans. My history goes back to the mid-'80s when I actually headed a task force on the homeless. I pulled the report out, reads the same, except we've got 600 more studio apartments thanks to Catholic Charities and VOA, Hope House, blah, 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 blah. So the key of all this is they closed Eastern Medical Hospital 15 years ago and told the city, they're all yours. And unfortunately, 90% of these folks really have mental issues. And they probably need to go back to somewhere like Eastern. In fact, somebody said, has the city looked at, is there any unused buildings out there? So anyway, thank you very much for
Well, I
your
know
time.
Councilman
Quick-
Bingle.
Yeah, quick note on that. I called the state to find out if they had any property out at Eastern State Hospital. So the Pine Lodge, I know, is one that we looked at. And they are not interested in leasing anything out to the city at this time. That lodge has been somewhat partially leased out to other facilities. And I spoke with the state's land manager on this side of the state. And like I said, the state has no property that they are interested in leasing us for
Well,
these
that's
purposes.
the state. They didn't close Western, and if you talk to the sheriff, the second largest mental health institution in the state is
Yep.
our jail.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, state did us no favors.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, I'm going to have Shauna, you want to come up and give us the purchase of ALPR cameras? This was actually a consent item. It did not make it on consent. The items are in the packet. And so we're just going to have Shauna give us a quick, just very
Sure.
quick brief.
No
briefing.
problem, thank you. So this is related to a different consent item to accept the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority grant money that is under McNabb. And then this is the purchase of the cameras that we would buy with that grant acceptance. So what we would do is purchase 5 ALPR cameras. 3 would be mobile cameras to go into marked patrol cars, and 2 would be fixed cameras that we're proposing we put near the Division Street Bridge so that they would catch north and southbound traffic. So these cameras, they will scan for license plates. They take photos of license plates only. And then it comes with software where you can set up automated alerts. So whenever a car is stolen, it would automatically start scanning for that stolen license plate. If there's an amber alert or a silver alert, it'll automatically scan for those. And then we can also use it for vehicles of interest. So if we have a shooting or a homicide, something big, we can put in an alert for that. And then when those plates get scanned, that alert would pop up for our crime analysts and for dispatch, as well as officers who are driving those specific cars.
Shauna, is the technology essentially the same as like the license plate readers are some of our cop cars have?
Yeah, absolutely. We historically have been in a partnership with Post Falls PD and part of their consortium for license plate readers. This would move us onto our own system. After Post Falls had a couple of cybersecurity incidents, we no longer feel comfortable having a connected network to them. So we're going to go on our own, set this up. It gives us more control, better capability to do audits. It'll be better for the city in the long run to be on our own system.
Okay. Any questions for Shauna?
So having something on Division, which is a state highway, is that an issue? Can we get the state to help us pay for that?
Well, the grant's totally going to fund the camera purchases, so there's no cost. I believe it's going to go forward okay. That's our proposed location. We'll have to go forward and talk to the state and see if they have any concerns about it, but we don't anticipate there being any at that location.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay.
Shauna,
All
thank you
right,
so much.
Thank you.
And then Howard Delaney, like to give us an update on the AOC grant series.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Michael Diamond and I from Community Justice Services are appearing remotely today. We have meetings just literally back to back, so apologize to council. Yes.
Oh, Howard, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Go right ahead with your presentation.
Okay, so this spring AOC came out after receiving some money from the legislature and offered a number of grants, one being for therapeutic courts and the other being for audio visual. So I'll take you through real fast the audio visual grant, and then I'm going to ask Michael Diamond from Community Justice Services, who wrote the other two grants, to bring you up to speed on those. And then I'm going to want to address a couple of issues with the domestic violence grants that we're seeing based on the contract timing. In any case, the first potential award is $18,700 for video upgrades and audio upgrades to our courtrooms, including items to assist us with translation for people whose English is not their primary language, and secondly, to improve the audio recording and fidelity, both because we're a court of record and because people on Zoom are having trouble hearing, particularly if more than one person is talking at a time. These things are a combination of hardware upgrades, microphones, etc. Again, total cost of $18,700. We picked this particular gear in concert with our expert from IT who's been configuring our courtrooms, and it's real straightforward stuff. Moving on to the second of the series grants. Michael, you want to take them through them?
Yes, thank you, council members. The two remaining grants are specifically focusing on therapeutic court and on community justice counselors. As the city is aware, the city graciously approved the Municipal Probation Department's transition to community justice services, and as part of that, we actually developed the term community justice counselors specific for Spokane. The state liked it so much, they actually created a grant to create community justice counselors across the state. These two grants, specifically, the domestic violence grant was for $421,018, and the community justice counselor grant was for $293,800. As we're aware, domestic violence is at a high rate in the city of Spokane. The court, in conducting a brief review of the last 5 years, has received nearly 11,000 domestic violence-related charges and filings with the court, and many of those we have an inability to be able to provide services as our population primarily is indigent. Domestic violence intervention treatment is not covered by any form of insurance. It is at a self-pay only, and because we have individuals who are indigent and cannot pay, this domestic violence court would be able to provide a full facet of services with a multidisciplinary team focusing on medically assisted treatment, substance use, mental health, and domestic violence. The grant would afford all treatment, UAs, transportation, housing assistance, phone assistance, a complete incorporation of every facet to allow an individual that's engaged with the court under domestic violence charge to receive services. Our intent is to see a reduction in domestic violence charges and crimes, as well as no contact orders and violations. And we've reached out to a number of treatment providers and agency members across the city to be partners with this. The Community Justice Counselor Grant is intended to create positions that are projects specifically to work with the domestic violence population. And again, as Howard will address in just a moment, there are some caveats with the funding and the timelines for both of these grants.
Thank you very much, Michael. And Michael really deserves credit for obtaining those grants. He literally wrote them and submitted them to AOC, and frankly was awarded both grants he wrote for, so congratulations to him on that. The challenges we're seeing is that we received an initial contract on the award for our review late last week. We noticed in that particular contract that it states the grant award began July 1 and terminates June 30 of next year. Of course, it's no longer July 1, and when we contacted the administrative office of the courts, they said, yes, that's our biannual budget cycle, and that's what you're going to learn to live with. And our challenge is to implement this program, first getting the project people approved, then doing the hiring, then standing up the court. We'll be fairly lucky, given the administrative sequence, to accomplish those things, to get them done by the end of the year, particularly with the Go Live project for eCourt coming in all the other agencies, prosecutor, public defender, and CJS in September. That would leave us about 6 months to run the program and try to demonstrate to council that we're moving the needle as per our projections on domestic violence and community safety. And then we'd be faced with asking to extend that program right in the middle of the 2023 budget. Otherwise, the program would end in mid-2023, and to submit it for 2024, we'd be without funds for 6 months. And what we want to avoid is getting a bunch of people into a treatment cycle that we're working with that have domestic violence issues and or substance abuse, etc. We get them on a path, and then we abandon them after 6 months, knowing full well they can't afford to continue to pay for the treatment sequence. I discussed this with a regional group from the court administrators for Eastern Washington, and they're all frankly having the same issues with this grant cycle and are contacting AOC, my administrative office of the court, and Michael has also contacted them. At this point, we're waiting to hear back on any flexibility in use of the money. Can we do the programs without standing up the therapeutic court quite as we were, to extend the timelines, etc. So while we're excited to have received the funds, and we truly believe a domestic violence intervention court will make a big difference to our domestic violence victims out there in terms of changing behavior, we're concerned that our budget being on an annual cycle on calendar year, and theirs being July to June, is going to pose a problem. So although we're planning on moving forward at this point, I wanted to make sure council was completely aware of the caveats associated with this grant. So are there any questions I might be able to answer for council?
Thanks, Howard. Any questions?
Howard, so has that money ever
Yes.
been considered to be used for waivers of fees for the program? If we can't get it up and running as you described? And that's one.
Yeah.
And then second, I gotta tell you, coming in the middle of the budget cycle would be a little challenging for us for the amount that we needed to bridge those 6
Yes.
months.
Yes, we realize that, and of course, we've already missed the 2023 submission cycle. If we had known we were getting the grant earlier, we might have put in something for 2023. Again, we're working with AOC to see if there's any flexibility in programming, planning, or some way to more effectively use this money for programming that we need without the delays associated with setting up a court, and we just don't have those answers yet. But as soon as we do, with council's permission, I will send a written update to this committee.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Howard, my only question is the program itself, is it an inpatient or an outpatient type situation?
Essentially what it is you do a assessment series to decide what level of treatment the person requires. But these are, although chemical dependency aspects of it might be inpatient, the DVIT treatment itself is outpatient.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it.
Okay, anything else? Thank you very much, Council. We appreciate the opportunity, and sorry we were presenting remotely today.
No worries. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get back on track. Chief Meidel.
Good afternoon, Council. So at the advanced agenda last week, we had 3 topics we were asked to brief on: traffic emphasis patrols, carpooling concerns, and state legislative changes. Spoke to Chair Cathcart, Council President Beggs, as well as a couple of the legislative aides. I didn't really have a whole lot of details on what was being looked for, so I did ask Major Olson, who oversees patrol in the precincts, to attend as well, based on the level of questions, and then Lieutenant Wool, who's our training director at the academy. So I'll give a real quick overview on the traffic emphasis patrols. If there's detailed questions, Major Olson should be able to answer those questions. If not, we will get that information for you as quickly as we can. So we are currently conducting the traffic enforcement specials. Those are occurring Friday and Saturday nights from 8 to 1 in the morning. And we do have 2 officers that we require to sign up for that as well. My understanding is we're getting maybe 50% interest in that. And again, that comes down to conversations we've had in the past of fatigue and exhaustion, officers actually wanting their time off. But we are getting, like I said, we are getting somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50% of those filled. Some weeks will be less. So that's about where we're at on that. Is there any specific questions on that we can answer?
So, yeah, I'm the one that has been pushing that and got the money for it, the $42,000. So worked with Captain Meidel to get that, and then Teresa Fuller. So in addition to Division and I think it was Northwest Boulevard, right? Was the other one?
Yeah, and I sent more
And
locations.
so we've been sending the locations. When you say there's about a 50% number that are officers who are willing to do that, does that also include the other locations or just the ones where we're targeting drag racing and
Yes.
behavior around racing?
So that 50% will be those volunteering to work that evening, and they'll work all the areas that are sent to them. So they'll spend time between Division or Northwest, all the different locations that are sent to them. They will work those areas within that 8 to 1 o'clock.
Okay, so, but my question is, that time frame, I sent some other time frames as well.
Okay.
So drive time's usually a problem for speeding and distracted driving. And I can resend those as well. So we've had our neighborhood council folks sending in locations, and especially now when the pools are open and kids are out enjoying parks and so forth. So
Okay.
I can resend that,
And
just
who
to
are
make
the-
sure that during the day we have that as well.
Okay, who are those going to? Are they going to Sergeant Fuller, Lieutenant Waters?
I was sending them to Captain Meidel and Sergeant Fuller. So I can copy you, Major Olson.
That would be great, thank you.
Please.
So quick question. So if I'm out there, and I just have to say, I don't understand this whole drag racing thing. I thought that was like in the past, but we got a lot of drag racing going on, because we can hear it all over the place. So if I'm out there drag racing down Northwest Boulevard, and I get pulled over, what happens to me? I mean, am I going to get a ticket? Are you going to arrest me?
There's a couple different ways to go. So it technically is considered reckless driving when you're, we call it comparing speeds when you're drag racing. It is actually a misdemeanor. You can go to jail. Obviously, with our jail status, we don't typically book the majority of misdemeanors, barring domestic violence and DUI. So it could go a number of different ways. It could be a citation, or it could be a warning, depending on what the officer is going to use their discretion for. But those are typically going to be the two outcomes. I will tell you, one of the conversations I had at the graveyard roll call not too long ago was a lot of times our officers are going to stop those folks who are racing, whether they're drag racing or just speeding, and they're not stopping. And so they continue to drive. And this is a statewide issue as well.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you Google Washington state laws, and WSP had a great article here locally, I think a couple weeks ago, where they're seeing it multiple times a day as well.
You need to get some moms out there on the street.
That sounds good. I don't think we can afford them.
But Councilmember Stratton's question was very specific to her. So wouldn't you have a harsher penalty for her?
Yes.
Because of who I am.
Let's see how the rest of the day goes before I answer that.
So my other point would be then, do we keep any data on those people that are getting pulled over and either ticketed or cited, and what their repeat is if they keep doing it?
Not so much on the repeat, but when we get those types of requests, we do typically ask Shauna Ernst to go through our, she can develop a quick software program that will go through and mine those, and they'll be able to pull out traffic stops, and then they'll be able to pull out which ones were citations and which ones were not citations.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Thanks for your response.
I think that's everything on traffic.
Okay, the next topic was going to be on car prowling concerns. And I don't have a whole lot of information on what we're looking for on car prowling concerns, so I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, I can ask. Well, I just get a lot of complaints from people in the community frequently saying, you know, my car's been broken into. What are we doing? What have we done, and have we changed what we've been doing? And do we have any stats about what car prowling has done over time, over the last few years?
So car prowling is going to be one of those crimes of opportunity, and it's the risk reward that goes along with car prowling. And to give you an example, so obviously if we contact someone and we have probable cause, we will cite them for car prowling. Car prowling, again, happens to be one of those misdemeanors. We typically don't book, again, because of jail staffing, so they get a citation for vehicle prowling, and then they're sent on their way. On occasion, we will book. I'll give you an example. This was, I believe, a week. It may have been 2 weeks ago. This is an example. Out on East Sprague, we had video of a couple gentlemen smoking meth. They happened to prowl a vehicle on camera. Our officers were able to identify them and arrest them the next day. And in this scenario, because we do have a huge issue with vehicle prowlers, we know that a lot of them are going to be ongoing issues. They booked them into jail. One of the individuals was released within 10 minutes from the jail. The other was released in less than an hour. So what we're trying to do is provide that deterrent. But again, if we have them on video the day before smoking meth, and then they're released within 10 minutes to an hour, there's not much of a deterrent for them. The risk is worth the reward. We have one video, this was several months ago, many of you may have heard of this, a prowler downtown, over 200 charges, in and out of a vehicle in about 5 seconds. And it is that quick. And so one is we have to see someone actually, someone has to actually witness that, then they have to call it in, and then either we have officers close by or we have officers tied up and they have to try to contact them. So the short answer is we are arresting them when we get probable cause and we can track them down. It is very prevalent. The deterrent effect does not seem to be having any effect for the reasons I explained. 10 minutes for vehicle prowling, they can get laptops, they can get jewelry, they can get money, they can get anything and everything people leave in their vehicles, including weapons. So a 5 to 10 seconds getting in a vehicle, the reward they potentially have is definitely worth the risk, especially when they're going to be released in 10 minutes or so.
Chief, what misdemeanor level crimes do we book for as a general rule?
Consistently, we will book for domestic violence, city assault, and then DUI.
And I guess which ones are more optional where we typically wouldn't book?
I'll throw an order of protections as well. We'll typically book for those. The ones where we typically won't will be misdemeanor thefts, misdemeanor assaults, not domestic violence related, Again, typically, you'll see vehicle prowling is not going to be booked. Pedestrian interference, a lot of our lower quality life crimes, crimes where, you know, you have the person in the roadway or you have graffiti, things like that, of that nature. Typically, we're not going to book on those misdemeanors.
And that's because of the status of the jail specifically?
It's the jail policy, which it has to be. I get weekly vehicle theft reports, and every week we have suspects arrested out of a car that have stolen vehicles, and the jail can't keep the felons, let alone our misdemeanors, other than the mandatory arrests.
Gotcha. Other questions?
Yes, not really a question. A couple of years ago, I mean, we've had this problem for a while. This isn't new.
Yeah.
And when I first came on council, property crime was off the charts. And we did videos and we talked and educated people about don't leave stuff in your car that's visible, lock things in your trunk, lock your car, all these sorts of things. Are we doing anything like that proactively now so that people aren't victims of crime?
We are at a couple different levels. We do send those PSAs out on occasion. We also send out the arrests we do make with a reminder, please don't leave valuables in your vehicle. Jeff Humphreys did, and I looked for this a couple weeks ago and couldn't find it. He did a great video where he had a person who'd been convicted of vehicle prowling in the vehicle with him and asked him, what do you look for and when you're going in your vehicle prowling? And it can be something as simple as that handful of change that most of us leave in the ashtray. It can be that literally $3 pair of sunglasses they bought from 7-Eleven. Anything and everything in there that to us, it's like no one's going to break into my vehicle for this. He explained to Jeff in this interview, and I know it's got to be somewhere on the city's website. It doesn't matter how small or trivial it seems. I will tell you, we also do see vehicles that have nothing of value getting broken into as well. They're just going in there to see if they can find something.
I was interested in pursuing some signage downtown to give a very direct warning to people to protect their valuables, but again, the conversation's paused on that. There's some concerns over just the perception of what that would create downtown. But I think
Yeah.
people do need a fair warning to keep their valuables safe.
It's not just downtown, and people don't read signs,
No,
unfortunately.
You're not wrong.
I will add the third conviction for vehicle prowling is a Class C felony. They have to get that third conviction though, and then it evolves into a felony.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was wondering, do we keep statistics about how many reports of car prowling we've had over time?
Yes, we can ask Shauna Ernst to get that information.
Yeah. Just by your anecdote, do you think it's gone up or stayed the same over time?
Boy, I'd hate to
That's
even
okay.
guess. Yeah, I typically go meeting to meeting. You have any thoughts?
Our larceny numbers, which includes vehicle prowling, includes theft.
Sorry, can you speak into the microphone for us? Yeah.
Our larceny numbers, which includes various types of theft, is larceny is a type of theft, includes vehicle prowling, theft, shoplifting. Those have gone up significantly.
I would be curious to know if it's going up, if there's anything that we could do to address it. I guess I hear about it a lot as a council member, so sounds like it is a difficult one to address, but it seems like it's something that we should be doing potentially differently about it.
We need a deterrent.
Yeah, so again, I'll tell you, we're doing our part when we can. When we catch them, we are holding them accountable, booking them into jail even. And again, going back to the story that just happened a week ago, when you're released in 10 minutes and you have a meth problem, there has to be something else. And so I would say we're doing our part we can with the staffing we have. We're going to those calls when we can. But when we do catch them, there has to be some kind of deterrent for them.
Chief Minor, would Shauna be able to give us a hot map of where they're happening currently?
Absolutely. How far back would you like to go?
Pre and post COVID?
Well, actually, I'm going to go 3 months, kind of the beginning of the summer, but that would just kind of give me a visual aid of.
You want to compare that year over year?
Sure.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cathcart, thank you for that.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Council President?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, we're talking the pre-booking and the counties managing the jail in such a way we don't have beds, but when they are actually convicted and they get sentenced, they don't get out in 10 minutes then, do they? I'm assuming they have to serve their sentence.
Depending on what their sentence is, correct.
Right.
It may be community service, it may be detention, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And then my last one, I would love to, if if there's more action that council could take and you have recommendations, we'd love to hear what we could do to help support that.
Great, thank you.
That's great. State legislative changes?
Okay, so that's a pretty broad category. Again, I asked Lieutenant Wool to be up here as our training director. So we have the legislative changes from last year, and then we have the legislative changes from this year. It's pretty expansive. When you're looking at the legislative changes last year, hundreds of hours spent going over all the legislative changes, coming up with training, meeting with legal, meeting with the training commission. I know Lieutenant Wool was an integral part of that as well. And then you have legislative changes this year as well. So just to kind of narrow it down, we could talk about the legislative changes from last year for an hour and not repeat ourselves.
And I think if I understood right, was the crux of the question kind of the changes this year from last year? Is that what you were really?
Yeah, there was a lot of reforms in 2022 that police asked for. And so what were the major things that changed and how are we implementing those already? Is the major question. Not really what's been done in the past that we've already been training about, but what are the new changes and how are we implementing those and how's it impacting the police force?
And again, just to confirm the changes for this year?
Yeah, 22.
Okay, without touching on 2021. There's been a few of the bigger ones. One of the biggest changes this year had to do with Terry stops. If you go back to 2021, the State v. Ohio decision that was decided in 1968 was changed for Washington State. And the executive director for WASPIC said last year, Steve Strand, that this is the most restrictive law in the nation when it comes to Terry stops. Terry stops is basically going to be reasonable suspicion. If you have reasonable suspicion that someone is engaged in a crime at a specific time in a specific location, you are allowed to use reasonable force to detain them if they refuse to remain at the scene. That's a necessary tool because it's not uncommon when police officers show up and they know they committed a crime, they're going to try to flee. So what you saw a lot last year was a lot of our officers having to watch people who they had strong reasonable suspicion to believe had been committed or had committed a crime, but they didn't have probable cause yet to detain them using reasonable force. So that was changed this year to go back to the reasonable suspicion to detain an individual that the officer has specific articulable suspicion that they committed a crime after announcing themselves and that this person is not free to leave. So I would say we got that tool back with the caveat that the officer does have to identify themselves and explain you're not free to leave it at all. So that's pretty large. The pursuit bill that was changed last year only allowed pursuits for what the RCW categorizes as violent crimes and sex crimes. So you have to have, prior to 2021, officers were allowed to pursue under reasonable suspicion that the offender was in the vehicle. Kind of the same concept as Terry versus Ohio. Example is a domestic violence call. Wife calls in and says, my husband left in this vehicle, he assaulted me. If an officer is coming in the air and sees the vehicle leaving, they were allowed to stop and contact that person to keep them from fleeing while they continue the investigation. That changed last year. So now officers can only pursue for what's called a violent offense or a felony sex offense, or they need reasonable suspicion for DUI. So if it's any other crime other than a violent felony offense or a DUI, officers are not allowed to pursue. This is across the state as well. You have to have probable cause to pursue for the crimes that I just listed to you. It's so you have to have probable cause for manslaughter, indecent liberties, kidnapping, arson second, assault second, extortion, robbery in the second degree, drive-by shooting, any Class A felony, which would be your murder, robbery, rape, level 1, vehicular assault, and then if they're a DUI, you can pursue for reasonable suspicion. You don't have to have probable cause to believe that they're DUI, which of course you have to do an investigation to develop that probable cause. So that was a big one that we're still looking at.
Just to be clear, that didn't change this year.
Correct,
'Cause
yes.
The question is what did change. So, yeah.
Okay. So we did get the Terry stops back. Also, the law stated last year that if no crime is occurring, officers basically, the expectation is for officers to leave the area. They removed that language. Officers are now allowed again to use, if they need to, reasonable force on a mental health detention. You may have heard last year a lot of our firefighters, mental health professionals were going on calls where the person was in a mental health crisis but not committing a crime. So if they were not capable of taking care of themselves, but they weren't committing a crime, last year we walked away. Now we've received that tool back as well. And it's pretty expansive. There you are. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the other things we got back was the ability to use less lethal tools that we'd had before that were taken away. So this is our impact weapons, where we can reach out from a distance so we're not putting ourselves in danger or having to use more force than necessary to take somebody into custody. So that was another big tool that we got back.
That was the pepper balls? Is that one of them?
That was actually something that pepper balls we could utilize, but that was like the 40 millimeter exact impact, and then they've got different baton rounds, things like that, that we were able to use. The state gave us the ability to use back with that new legislation.
I guess my question would be, of the changes from 21 that were not addressed in 22, are there any that really rise to the top of saying, it should be a priority that we think about that in a different way and come back and try to fix that? Is there a specific one? I know we're now, number one for stolen cars, right? Because of the lack of being able to pursue in a stolen car case. So I'm just curious, is there one that really rises to the top that says that should be the focus for the next session, is to fix this issue?
I'm going to address from the patrol perspective, the ability not to pursue violators. I mean, our pursuit policy was very restrictive. It was almost as restrictive as the state law became. But we are now seeing the after effects of that with driving in the community, because if people aren't required by law to, if we're not allowed to pursue them, even though they're required by law, it's making it really difficult for us to enforce traffic infractions in the traffic law. It's having a ripple effect, and I think we can see that in the driving community.
Is fleeing from the police itself an arrestable offense? Yeah. So if they flee and you've got their license plate and you can find out where they live, and
if we can verify it, that's the driver, that's the problem, right? We stop cars.
Right.
Typically, we don't typically get to stop a person, because we don't know who is driving until we actually get up and talk to them. So that is the problem we face.
Other questions? Yeah.
So all these tools were changed in March. Were they into effect immediately? Like, did the force get Terry stops back immediately after the legislator approved it?
Yes, once that House bill was signed, it went into effect immediately, and we started training that at our first in-service, our spring in-service, continue that with our ongoing reality-based training, things like that. So we did start training that immediately once it went into effect.
Okay, so then it's fair to say that all police officers should be using these tools again, now that we're months away from that.
By all means, they can, but again, it's just like a probable cause. Some officers may think, I think I've got probable cause for this person. Some may not believe that they have probable cause or have a reason to detain somebody. So again, that's depending on the officer, but yes, they do know, and we do train that they can utilize that to stop.
So I know we just talked about this earlier, but just so everyone knows, Terry stops has been a big issue that has come up at neighborhood council meetings and stuff. And as recently as May, officers were still saying they were confused about it. And so I'm concerned that, the public comes and complains to us. We represent them. They have a fair expectation of what police officers would do if someone pulls a gun on them and the police show up and they don't go ask them. This is the case with a lot of people. So I'm just curious, what are we doing to make sure that all our officers aren't confused? I get that things change. I'm a teacher. Things change on me all the time. But I need to follow through. That's the expectation. And we have funding to help with that training too. So what are we doing to make sure that these tools are being used?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, again, Lieutenant Wool, the training director, asked around and has not heard from those he spoke with that there's confusion on it. Again, when you go back to the original Terry v. Ohio from the 1968 court case, they learned that in the academy, and then they learned that throughout the academy from the FTO. They learned that in the FTO car, and the case law on Terry v. Ohio is pretty clear. Last year was confusing for a lot of folks based on, so if we go on a scene and somebody's just been, an example we use, we like to use extremes to paint an example. If someone's just been murdered and we have 3 people fleeing the scene in separate cars, we can't detain them because we don't have probable cause yet. We don't know who did it, and using that extreme example. So we worked with legal very closely last year to work on what is the level of government interest in intruding onto their right to be free from an unlawful stop or seizure. And what we determined, working with legal, was the higher the level of government interest, crimes of violence, homicide, rape, things of those nature, the more that intrusion into their freedom to be their ability to be free from an unlawful seizure is more diminished because of the government interest. If it's a property crime, there's not as much government interest in that. So we had to work through that. In fact, I have to give credit to our training academy. Tacoma PD actually asked for our presentation because they did a really good job trying to balance that. So fast forward again to this year where that was changed. We're back where we were at. We're back to where we're at for all the careers of our law enforcement officers that are here now and the way it's always been except for 2021 with one caveat. And that caveat is you have to identify yourself and explain they're not free to leave. So the rules are right back to where they've been and where they've been our entire career, minus you have to let them know you're not free to leave. You have to tell them that. So we haven't been able to locate any officers that are confused. If you're hearing from officers, I would also say they have peers they can talk to. We have a full-time training staff they can talk to. They have roll calls every single day with a sergeant they can talk to. There is a whole gamut of people accessible to them if they're confused. And really, I think the onus would be on them. If this isn't clear to you, then you have an obligation to come forward and let us know. But we haven't heard that.
So I'll just say I think most of those neighborhood council meetings are recorded.
No, this one was not.
That one was not, okay.
Definitely not recorded. But I mean, do the officers have to pass a test of understanding after they're retrained so that they know that it's clear? Like, how do we know that they know? I guess is the question. As leaders, like I'm a teacher, right? I test my students to make sure that they cleared mastery and that they understand it, so I know that they can move on. So how's the department do it? I don't know.
So if we go back to what it has always been for the last 50 years, what they've been trained on, we explained, remember how we've been doing this our entire career except for 2021? We're back to doing that again. Make sure you add in this one caveat. There's only one caveat. To be blunt, I don't know of any reasonable officer that would be confused that we're back to how it was, except you have to say you're not free to leave. That's the only thing that's changed. And we hire professionals. We hire adults. And if they're confused about what they should be doing or any of anything along those lines, then as professionals and adults, our expectation is you're going to ask during the training. Lieutenant Will tell you if they get questions during training related to, is there any confusion on this? And then they also have their peers, their sergeants, the full-time training director, training staff as well.
Chief, is the risk of, I know the laws have changed, but is the risk of decertification still something that lingers in some folks' minds and perhaps affects how they go about making certain decisions?
It is huge. Yeah, it is huge. So one of the things, we talked about reforms this year, 22, not 2021, but officers are still very nervous about the potential of being decertified. It's another layer of review, and it's another layer of scrutiny by a panel that is basically going to be under the Training Commission's umbrella. So officers are concerned, are they going to be political capital? So if they didn't do anything wrong, are they still going to be found guilty of things because it seems politically expedient? And again, I'm just telling you how officers are feeling right now. There's a lot of stress. Had a conversation with a sergeant this weekend where he said that is still very, very concerning. And to put it in his words, he said officers know when they sign up for this job, they know they may be involved in getting shot, but the level of scrutiny that they're under with these reforms and the potential of going to prison or jail, making a mistake is something that is at a level it's never been. And that's what's causing a lot of folks to not want to be in law enforcement anymore.
There's a big difference, I think, between the role of the ombudsman and his investigations and what the role of this group would be and how they can decertify, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify then, there is no test to make sure that they understand the reforms before they're out there. I think that would help with a fear of decertification. I know I pass this test, I know the rules.
That is correct. There is no test given to them.
It's just, we told you, we expect you to know. Okay.
Respectfully, when it comes to changes between a teacher and a police officer, one of the, a police officer is under significantly more scrutiny than a teacher. And I mean, no disrespect, I understand you have things that you've got to keep on top of as well, but, you know, police officers, while doing what they think is the right thing, still find themselves in situations where they can be losing their job. You know, LeBron can tweet out their photo and say they're a terrible person. So I think the weight that police officers feel is slightly different than, you know, what teachers are feeling. And so.
And to address the idea of an exam, we don't have exams that are in service typically. I mean, there might be some rare occasions where they're state mandated, you have to do this test. It's very, very seldom. The way we conduct our training, and I'll let Lieutenant Wool address it again, is we will present classroom material. So that's the tell portion. Then we do the show portion where we actually have students go through a reality-based scenario where they have to go out and demonstrate that they acknowledge and understand the material just presented to them. And then the do is every day on the street. Now, the test is every time someone's arrested or every time they go to a call, well, not every time they go to a call, they don't write reports. Every time they write a report, that report is screened by a supervisor. So that supervisor gets to look at their actions and make sure that what they're doing is lawful. That's why we have that level of review, is we're constantly doing that. It gives us an opportunity to make sure that we're doing what we should be doing and by the book. Hopefully that hopefully explains that better.
Yeah, Major Olson's correct in that we do the reality-based training, and that's where we're actually testing per se, when we're saying, yes, you understand that correctly, you understand the terminology we talked about, and so we do it not as a written test, but as that type of test, and it's ongoing. That's not something that we just trained once and now we'll forget because it's 2023, 2024. We'll be covering that in this fall in service and adding that training into there, along with some of our VirTra that I know Councilmember Cathcart has been through, and I talked to both Councilmember Wilkerson and Zapone today about coming back and doing that. We use that as our training tool.
I look forward to doing it again, by the way. Anything else?
I had a question about the reforms in general. I remember conversations about some of the reforms caused multiple officers to have to respond to scenes, 3 or more. Is that still the case? Has that changed? How is that working?
Yeah, so in some of the legislative language last year, they talked about, you know, calling for more resources, calling for more officers, more equipment, with the intent that you will be able to de-escalate, keep the scene safer as well. So what we have done is that we have, on incidents where we believe there may be a physical arrest, we will traditionally still send 3 officers. I think the spirit of the legislative changes last year was get more officers there, the goal being the more officers, the hope is the less likely you will have to use force, or if you do use force, you'll have to use a lower level of force because you have more hands there to help out. So we still are honoring the spirit of what the legislators passed last year. So if we believe there will be an arrest based on the initial call, we will still typically send 3 officers. Now not all the time, but for the majority of those, we're trying to send 3 officers to honor what the legislators had asked us to do last year.
Okay. Are we ready?
Well, I guess I'm still not quite sure. So there has been a change since the 2022 reforms?
In terms of number of officers?
Yeah, being sent to.
So we started last year when these reforms came out, and that language was in the legislative bill that then became law. We defaulted to sending 3 officers on anything other than a cold report, like a burglary report, suspect's gone, malicious mischief, suspect's gone, things of that nature. We would send 1 officer to take that report. But if there's still, last year, if there was still, the suspect was still on scene and it seemed like this thing could escalate, we sent 3 officers there, even if it looked like things had settled down. So what we did is we evolved and we've said if the suspect's still there and it looks like a arrest is going to be imminent, we'll send 3. However, on the other ones where there may be tension there, but it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to rise the level of an arrest, you may just have to separate them, ask them to go their separate ways and do a report. Then we'll typically try to send 2. And one of the things we send out is we still encourage officers, if there's 2 going on a call and you feel like you need a 3rd, we're creating the culture of ask for a 3rd. In fact, I heard that today on the radio. There's 2 officers going on a call and they ask for another officer as well. So we're trying to find the balance between getting enough officers to these calls to try to diffuse it versus knowing we're a call-driven agency and we need officers available to go to these other calls, so we can't constantly send 3 officers to every call. We're trying to find that balance.
Right, so then I've had people send me photos of 8 officers responding to one person in a mental health crisis. Is that still happening then, or?
I'd have to look at each individual call, but a lot of the mental health calls will go on. There's a weapon involved, a knife. Occasionally guns are mentioned. It's not uncommon. We're hearing a lot more gun calls. In fact, today, again, a separate call up north, someone called in and said they saw a person that appeared to be homeless that pointed what they thought was a gun at them. So we're going to try to send as many resources as we reasonably can to detain that individual, keep them from leaving. But some of what you'll also see will be, we may be sending one of our George units, which is the 2-person co-deployed unit. So you may have 3 or 4 officers there to make the scene safe. And then you will see our George unit, which is the co-deployed unit of 2. So it's an officer and then a mental health counselor respond as well. So you may see more folks there. And sometimes they may send 2 of our George units. They establish a rapport. A lot of our George units, because they deal with the same person over and over again, they'll establish a rapport. So if they hear, hey, John Doe's on this call, they'll send the closest George unit. But then the other George unit will respond because they know John and they have a good rapport with John.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we are very short on time, so we will move on. Thank you guys very much for the presentation. Assistant Chief, if you can hold on for 1 second, I want to make sure that we have time for 2 other items. Mike Piccolo, Mike, can you come and present on the contract? Okay.
Do we have a presentation queued up, or?
Shay, are you able to pull that up?
That's all right. Unless you need it, we can go without it.
Do we need it? Anybody? No, we're good.
Okay, perfect. Well, really appreciate the opportunity to appear before you and present to you the tentative agreement with the Spokane Police Guild. This is a 1-year tentative agreement. The key critical term there is a 5.5% annual wage adjustment retroactive to January 1 of 2022. This would be a short-term agreement that would get the city back to square one with the union. The primary reason for that is turnover in the HR and labor relations group with the city, and so this gives the opportunity for myself to come back and assist the city as we head to the table in the fall for the council to build their objectives in those negotiations, and then to work collaboratively with the administration as we move forward with police negotiations heading into the fall of this year, with the goal of ideally completing negotiations prior to the start of the next contract in the next year, looking towards a long-term deal for the city and for the guild. Some of the other notable pieces there would be including employer coverage of the increase to PFML premiums, as well as acceptance by the union to OPO language and arbitration state law language that updates to make current with the existing PERC regulations around disciplinary arbitrations. The additional issue, the city would eliminate current coverage under the department's funds for left 2 physicals, and those physicals would be conducted under the existing insurance coverage that the city provides to officers. The other big piece then on the benefits of this agreement as far as compensation, this keeps the department well within their comparable employers to allow you all to be competitive as far as recruitment and retention. I think that's a primary concern, and you heard it from the chief just shortly before me as to all of the many factors that sort of weigh in those decision-making for officers to stay or to come to Spokane. And so this keeps you all competitive as far as wages, and it sets us up, I think, to be very competitive as we head into contract negotiations in the fall with the Guild. So with that, I'll entertain any questions from council.
Any questions? Seeing none. And do we know when this is going to be voted on?
I believe August 15th is...
August 15th?
That's the request, yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right.
So I look forward to presenting it to you then.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, code enforcement update. And are we able to maybe do this in about 10 minutes or shoot for that? Okay, great.
Make sure to hurry through it.
Perfect.
So basically, this is kind of a follow-up. We've already presented on a couple of occasions on the HOT team and their programming. This is kind of an update, again, mentioning that as well, but also expanding on the other programs that we also run, whether that be graffiti abatement, illegal dumps, and the like, as well as the kind of the outcome of the additional resources that you guys gave code enforcement in as far as positions and how that's looking right now. So I'm going to let Jason kind of run through his presentation really, really quick, and he'll let you know some updates and some enhancements we've done.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you. We will go through this as quickly as we can, have some time for questions at the end. Just an overview of our litter crew's various tasks. We just wanted to get a chance to speak about the incredible work that they're doing in the community. One of those critical components of their work is the homeless outreach team. Our litter crew staffs that team along with Spokane police officers, as well as outreach partners from a variety of different agencies when possible. This group responds to camps, camping reports, and related issues daily across the city. This is full-time work that they do. There's full-time officers dedicated, and really the intent of that group is to make contact with people experiencing homelessness, offer resources, and mitigate some of those adverse impacts that those locations can have. Just a quick overview of some different situations the team encounters, just to demonstrate some of the talking points and terms that we use. This is just a pretty clear demonstration of the difference between what we would consider an abandoned site on the left and an occupied site on the right. I'll add quickly that an occupied site could be vacant, but usually the current occupancy is pretty clear, even if that person's not present. Obviously, there's a lot of conversations about ordinances and there's enforcement limitations on a lot of these topics, but even when those limitations are in place for enforcement, our team still responds to work with the people that are there to mitigate those conditions and to clean up what we can. Vehicle habitation, it's a really growing impact to the team. We ran some calculations and approximately 24% of all of our camping complaints are related to a vehicle. So somebody living in a RV, motorhome, vehicle of some sort. It's important to note here that it's not illegal to live in a vehicle, but there are some other impacts that do still require city response. Environmental damages are just a critical component of the work of this team. Obviously, a lot of this activity occurs close to the waterways in town. Earlier this spring, there were a lot of issues with flooded sites as the river levels increased. And I'll also mention here, the photo on the right really demonstrates an area that's very hard to access, very hard to clean up for the crew. There can be some safety components to those types of cleanups, which lead to some of the partnerships that we have with the Riverkeeper, which is that photo on the left there, where we actually partner with them. They can boat out some of that debris. And in that particular instance, there was also some storage, some property storage that was transported by the Riverkeeper as a partnership as well. A little bit more on storage for the next few slides. We have developed a program over the last few years, and it's implemented and it's been very successful. There's a difference with a lot of these sites between eligible property for storage and items that are not eligible, just attempting to demonstrate that here. One is clearly an occupied site with belongings and property, and another is just a large collection of garbage and abandoned items. When we do store property from a site, we inventory it at the site, we store it in bins and at a secure city facility, and then we leave notice of storage at the location so that those occupants can contact the city to try and coordinate return of that property. Usually,
For how long is that property stored?
So for up to at least 60 days. So it really depends. It's an operational issue, right? We have one storage container. So a lot of property could be stored for more than 60 days, but as we need that space, we will clear it out. This is a somewhat common call that we get. Yes?
And sorry, just to be clear again, up to 60 days could mean 1 hour.
No, I'm sorry, at least 60 days.
Okay, thank you.
So 60 days will be the minimum, but at any point in that time, somebody could call us and we could get that property back to them very quickly. We've had multiple same-day property returns. Code enforcement staff coordinates that return. We have a lot of policy and notices listed on our city website to try and explain this program and to try and get the knowledge out there to those who might see some of our notices.
So Jason,
Yes.
on the code enforcement that returns the property, is that a designated person based on your volume, or everybody in the office kind of does that work?
It would most likely be a dedicated person, so those calls come in through 311 to a supervisory level staff member to coordinate with that person and with our litter crew. And then we would select a meeting location. Typically, City Hall has been our meeting location for property returns, but this photo is actually from Fire Station 4. So really any public open facility could be a location where we would return property. Just some quick numbers here. This is just 2022 year-to-date numbers as of maybe 10 days ago. We've received just about 1,200 complaints. Total abatements completed is higher than that. Obviously, many reports require multiple abatements. Total solid waste abated thus far this year is almost 450,000 pounds of trash, and this is specific to responses to camping complaints. And we've stored property at 15 separate locations this year. Of those complaints, the vast majority comes from the right-of-way. When we review these complaints, we try to estimate which property type it would be, which department might be involved as well. And then the second place would be Parks Department. We just did a rough projection there of what we're on pace for this year as far as the amount of garbage we'd be removing from our streets, sidewalks, and alleys, as well as our parks properties.
Jason, have they put a dollar figure on that amount of garbage, the 450,000 tons of garbage? What does that equate to in dollars?
We would have to get that specific number back to you, but that is something that we are discussing internally, is accounting for those costs. I won't go into this map into too much detail, but these are all of the abatements that have been done by the team thus far. In 2022, it's a bit deceiving because a lot of those pins are stacked on top of each other. Some of those pins might actually be 20 abatements at some of our more challenging locations. And the intent of this map is just to show that it's a citywide impact, and the team does work citywide. Couple other components of the crew's work. Illegal dumping is a kind of a separate team that does separate work. Thus far in 2022, they've done 573 abatements of illegal dumps, accounting for almost 250,000 pounds of trash. This team includes a routine proactive downtown group that is mitigating garbage downtown. And then finally, graffiti. This used to be a contract that code enforcement managed to abate graffiti, but we've moved this work to our team. It's becoming a daily citywide detail, and we're going to continue to coordinate with various volunteer groups and other internal departments that help coordinate those abatement efforts. And it's amazing how we see all of these different teams work together at some of the same locations. That's demonstrated here with this photo, which is one of our really challenging camping locations that's also has a lot of graffiti. A lot of solid waste has been removed from this area and continues to be a focus for the team.
And we just recently approved $700,000 for street murals. And I know that we have street murals. How does this work in, how do we work with, Spokane Arts and those groups to make sure that we're not painting over murals? And
Absolutely. So our abatement process is really for like if we have a virgin wall, so something that hasn't been painted, we won't try to go and paint over that because we don't want to ruin any type of exterior facade. If there is some sort of artwork that's there, we do work with the Spokane Arts Commission because at that point it's no longer an abatement, it's more of a restoration. So anytime that the Spokane Arts Commission has a license from any sort of public entity, we honor that and work with them to make sure that they're on notice that we got a complaint about that location.
If I could, also, the most recent murals, like the ones we did on Wall Street, those have a protective coating over them, so if they do get defaced, you can clean them fairly easily.
Absolutely.
Lastly, we are also expanding staffing and the times of operation, the hours of operation. In previous years, the crew might have been 8, sometimes even 5 staff members, with really only 2 separate teams. And as you can see, we're expanding that as we go towards everyday coverage and multiple separate crews doing designated work. Happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Any final questions?
Jason, I just want to say thank you. You are kind of a hero in some of the neighborhoods that I work with, and we appreciate your response. You're always, both of you are so good about responding and kind of giving us a direction for constituents so they know what to expect when they call in. And I just want you both to know I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys very much. Assistant Chief Lundgren, if you can come and present, and this is, I think this is really needed and exciting, frankly, to see some of the potential changes that are being considered. We do have a hard stop at like 3:10, so we'll try to stop before then. And so if you have questions, probably ask those along the way just to make sure those get answered.
Well, good afternoon, Council. I have with me Lieutenant Jake Jensen, who is one of the members of the committee that developed the plan that we're gonna see here. And this was an answer to some of the morale issues that we have experienced on patrol. And when they were asking what are some of the things that we could do to most impact morale, one of the things that the committee determined the most important thing was to be able to go to a patrol shift and have adequate staffing to sit down at a table that is staffed with officers who are ready to go out and try to get our arms around some of the mandatory overtime for things such as the bar patrol downtown, shift coverage, shift holdovers, and that sort of thing. These are issues that not only impact public safety, but they impact the quality of the work environment that our employees see day in and day out. And so I'm going to have, we're going to present this together. Jake,
Good afternoon. Thanks for letting me present this model. As a kind of a, I guess, a caveat, this is very fluid. We have yet to sit down with our patrol officers to get the necessary feedback to make what their wants and needs are to make sure they're met so they can be instituted with some success. But this gives you the general layout of the direction we could potentially go. I'm going to kind of walk you through where we sit currently at a staffing, as the patrol staffing looks. I'm going to present what we could do by January 2023, and then obviously we'll cast something out into the future, what we could potentially look like with the proper funding. So currently our patrol staffing model, it's a 4-shift model to where you have a day shift, a swing shift, a power shift, and a graveyard. And throughout those 4 shifts, there's 120 officers that are actually showing up every day. The men and women show up to take calls that people call 911 for. In that, we can see that there's kind of an issue created, and really the burnout piece that we've talked about a little bit today is kind of one of those issues that have affected morale a little bit with the police officers, because they literally show up day in, day out, and they'll respond to all the calls they can. But on any given day, you have multiple calls that go prolonged without getting a response, or might not get a response at all, depending on what's going on currently in that day. So there was a vertical staffing committee that was created. One of them was kind of the lieutenants and captains, which I was a part of, and there was also one done at the patrol level. And some of the issues that were highlighted within both of those committees are kind of seen on the board here. First, the morale of our patrol officers. Obviously, we need a good police department with satisfied employees that continue to show up to work to combat the criminal issues we're experiencing currently. And then I think first and foremost, this is the second point, where currently the level of service that we provide is, for lack of a better word, somewhat embarrassing. It's not necessarily our fault. I'm not going to make excuses, but we don't have the necessary numbers to respond to all the calls we're getting. So somebody that calls in a vehicle prowling might have to wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or they might just have to make a report on crime check because there's other priorities holding and other calls that officers are being busy with. Go ahead.
And you might get to this later in the presentation, but my understanding, there's 3 levels of calls. Is that correct? Could you give us a little understanding of the differences in calls and why it's a big deal that we can't get to certain levels of calls?
Yeah, so the calls are prioritized when they come in. So 911 gets a call, they'll triage it to our police dispatch, who then puts a priority on it. A priority 1 would be life and limb. Somebody is in danger right now. The police need to get there, like a shooting or a stabbing or a serious fight in progress. A priority 2 is a crime that is occurring with a suspect that is present and that needs police response somewhat immediate. And then a priority 3 typically is where the suspect is gone, and it's more of maybe a paper call that needs to be addressed eventually. But sometimes on a shift, you get bombarded with 1s and 2s, and that 3 will hold for sometimes hours, like we mentioned earlier. Some of the other issues currently are the structural leadership and accountability. You have a captain, as we see, that oversees 120 officers, and you'll see in this kind of new proposed model, you'll now have 4 captains that kind of divvy up that responsibility. They get more ownership for their areas. Overtime costs. That will be somewhat diminished if we go to a model that's more adequately staffed. Currently, there's not a day that goes by where officers aren't held over mandatory for covering shifts because of minimum staffing or staying late because of a call that occurs. So overtime costs could be dramatically reduced. Currently, there's a culture, I think, in our department where if you're on patrol, that's where you just get inundated and just beat down, and it's almost depressing to an extent because you never get a break, you don't get to breathe. So a lot of patrol officers find themselves wanting to get outside of patrol to where they can get a desk job and kind of relax a little bit, and they're not feeling that pressure. So increasing the numbers and making kind of a commitment to patrol and realizing how important they are and recognizing that by adequately staffing it will kind of get rid of that culture, hopefully. Currently, we have a lot of specialties that exist outside of patrol. We'll talk about those here in a second. It makes it hard because oftentimes their needs get thrown back onto patrol officers who then have to go in and address kind of additional work on top of the calls for service that they respond to. Very limited time currently for proactive policing or going out and dealing with a vehicle prowler special or looking for actively, going out and hunting criminal behavior. It's reduced quite a bit now because of the response to priority 1s and 2s and 3s. It's just all shift long, cops are going to calls. Critical incident management. Currently, the staff that we have, like for Graveyard, for example, there could be 11 police officers covering the entire city of Spokane. If you have one shooting, that's going to take the bulk of those resources. So if you have another critical incident that occurs, it's tough to manage. All right, so what can we do in January 2023? And this is kind of the loose plan that can have some modifications once we present this to patrol and get some more feedback. But the idea is to go to a kind of 3-shift configuration. So we're getting rid of a shift where we're going to have a day shift, a mid shift, and a graveyard. So we kind of put more bodies on the teams that way. And we're also going to add some officers that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But we're going to a precinct model. So much like you guys are divvied up with your constituents, and much like our neighborhood resources officers are divvied up, we have an Adams sector, which is northwest, a Baker sector that's northeast. We have basically a south, and we have a downtown. So we have 4 sectors or precincts, and each one of those precincts is run by a captain, and then obviously you'll see the model here. There's kind of a very structural integrity applied to the actual plan, and it sets itself up for success, in my opinion. The idea is to, go ahead.
So does that set us up at all to utilize some of our resources and the structure of the cop shops in the neighborhoods? Because I can remember the days when there were real police officers in and out of West Central and walking down the street, and it was true community kind of policing.
So with this, that's a great segue into an actual precinct model to where the South Precinct could be run out of the South Precinct building. You could have 30 cops in and out of there, showing up to their roll calls, running them out of those buildings. I mean, the sky's the limit with that. And they get to know, obviously, that neighborhood at a very more intimate level so they can deal with the problems that neighborhood experiences. That's kind of the long-term goal with this, absolutely.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah. This is kind of the model. It's kind of hard to see, but you have 22 teams. Adam, Baker, Charlie, David. Each of the teams obviously has a mirroring kind of sister team that works when the one team isn't working. So if we just take day shift there, 7 people on each team, you have 28 officers that could show up and work day shift across the city of Spokane. Currently, with the staffing we have, if you had all the cops show up on day shift, you're going to have about 15 to 16 officers. So we're increasing the numbers right off the bat of how many cops are actually present. Minimum staffing currently is 11. Minimum staffing with this, once we get additional feedback, could look something like 20. So right off the bat, you're having a lot more officers present, just the way you're organizing it and by adding some more officers to it, which we'll address
And
in a little
how
bit.
are you getting the more officers?
We're going to get there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great.
If you notice here, just a quick hit on the David sector, which is downtown. If you notice, the mid-shift hours are from 5 o'clock to 3:40 a.m. And the idea behind that was they could completely address the downtown needs during bar patrol, during whatever events were going on, and that was their ownership. They take care of that. That's what they deal with. Here's kind of the way it would get divvied up as far as Adam Baker, Charlie David, just to give you kind of a mapping idea. So where do the officers come from? So currently, we have 57 officers, and I mean police officers, not like corporal sergeants or above, just police officers that are assigned outside of patrol. So the idea is there has to be hard conversations and decisions made on how many do we need out of this 57 to get our 154 model on January 23rd. And those are the things that, as a department, I think we can make that decision and get the feedback from patrol and all those that could be affected and come up with kind of a reasonable plan. But that's where kind of the stages of this are going to come from. Maybe pulling some of these specialty units that stand alone outside of patrol back into the patrol model so we can give better service to our citizens and basically increase the morale of our police officers. An additional note, we currently have 12 officers in training that are in the field training officer program right now. They will be available for assignment on their own to this model in about October or November of this year. So with the 12 and without anybody else leaving, asterisks, it's hard to predict the future there. We would need 25 officers out of that 57 to make the 154 plan work January 2023. We wouldn't want to stop there, though. We kind of talked about this, where do they come from? And for example, if you were to take some of the neighborhood resource officers that exist maybe downtown, I think there's 12 or 13 of them currently. If you were to take some of those and apply them in the model, the idea isn't to get rid of their specialty of being an NRO. The idea is to take them, use their expertise to train the 6 other police officers they're working with, to kind of multiply their knowledge and their specialty to help the neighborhood they're working in. The proposed staffing model for the future, the sky's the limit, and obviously this is a proposal, it's not a must, but if we want to get to a level of service to our citizenry where we're kind of handling every call, you call in a vehicle prowling and we actually show up within 5-10 minutes and we can actively maybe hunt the person who did it. We're looking at kind of a 198 officer model, which really applies 9 officers on each team instead of 7. So now you're just bolstering your numbers by 8 on each shift and just giving, I don't know, the citizens a better response to the crime that might occur. And you're also relaxing the pressure that's put on our patrol officers currently with just call to call to call to call, with unable to take a breath from time to time.
I have a question. Could I ask
Go
a
ahead.
question? Is there any discussion, because we've talked about this prior, of having civilians do some of the things that officers don't have time to do, such as take reports on property crimes, do fingerprinting, some of those things that you really don't need to be a police officer to do, other than it might be construed as skimming? Is there any discussion about offloading some of those jobs that they don't need to do?
So Crime Check presently provides that service. So calls that there
Can
are
you-
certain.
Can you use the microphone?
Sorry.
Is that better?
Yes?
All right, Councilmember Kinnear, thanks for the question. When we look at certain categories of crime, we allow people to make those reports over the phone. So it's essentially what you're talking about. A civilian is taking that report over the phone. There are certain crimes that, by their very nature, because of the potential for evidence, follow-up, a suspect that could return, that we're still going to have to send officers out. And what we're seeing on those priority 1s, 2s, and 3s that we talked about earlier, which are the cases that we do need officers to respond to, officers are being overwhelmed, particularly at the priority 3 level, but even at the priority 2 level, we are not achieving the response times that we need. And so without increasing our staffing, we're just not going to be able to move the needle on that. For instance, our priority 3 response times across the city, across times a day, are now on average in excess of 1 hour per call. And we don't feel good about that. We don't think that's acceptable. A priority 3 call could be a domestic violence incident that occurred where the suspects left. Well, these type codes are fluid. We could have the offender show back up, and they often do, and it becomes a priority 2. And now we need to get there in a hurry. Then they leave again. It's a priority, it's a priority 3 again, or they show up and now they've got a knife or a gun, and that's a priority 1. So we have to have the staffing to be able to address that portion of our work. But we are open to looking at creative ways to responding to lower level offenses as well.
Thanks.
And going back, that would be, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? We would have cop shops and those volunteers that do, a lot of those folks do fingerprint, I was going to say thumbprinting, fingerprinting, all of that. And they have the patrols where they go around the neighborhood and they check houses that are on vacation and all of that. So, I mean, there are so many amazing partnerships here that we could
Build on.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to finish it up, and I mean, this is nothing set in stone, very fluid, but to kind of give you a snapshot of what it would take to get to 198 officers and reinstate all the standalone specialties we have, because they're obviously there for a reason, because they're providing an added beneficial service to our community, you would have to hire 69 additional officers. So that gives you like the Cadillac version of where we could be.
Is there a Volkswagen version?
Any questions?
Very fluid. In the best world, what kind of timeline would you see this evolving in? The next 2 years, the next 3 years, 18 months?
So you will see a change. We are planning to make a change beginning next year. And so this plan, as Lieutenant Jensen discussed, it moves from a time-based 4-shift patrol configuration to a 3-shift geographic-based. So Lieutenant Jensen, who's one of our shift commanders, has responsibility for the whole city for patrol when he is out. He is responsible for north, south, downtown, anywhere he may go to make command level decisions and to step into a command role. Under the new model, all of our sergeants, our lieutenants, and our captains are going to be geographically based. So they will be the face of that area, and that's what we're trying to get to. As far as some of our staffing aspirations, even if we had everything that we needed in hand, all of our funding and everything, we couldn't make this happen overnight. This would be something that would take probably in the neighborhood of 4 to maybe 5 years to fully implement incrementally over time. And that's to be able, we have a bottleneck as it comes to training. We have only so many field training officers that can train. We have only so many spots in the academy that we can get into. And even if we had more, we have that bottleneck of training officers, and we have to be able to provide that same level of training to all the incoming officers. And then the growing pains of the department as well. So realistically, if everything was to go well, it'd be 4, maybe 5 years.
But the plan is for the reorganization at least to start for next year, and then we can
Yes.
add as we go as
Absolutely.
that works out. Other questions?
And when are you talking to the membership, that you're going to roll this out to the membership to get their feedback?
So
Yeah. So we have a committee that's kind of a cross-section that is meeting one more time to fine-tune the presentation that we're going to be giving to patrol roll calls and the effective potential groups that might have to come back to patrol. That's going to start by the end of August. We're going to start sitting down with folks and getting feedback.
Thank you.
And then, obviously, the specialties that would be going away exist for a reason today, and a lot of folks in the community believe that some of those are really important. And so I guess I would ask, just because this question is going to come up, would you foresee a reduction in our ability to address those specialty issues once this reorganization is in place?
And that's an excellent question. And so what we're doing is, it's kind of multifaceted. The one of our top priorities is to look at the services that we're providing and where we're falling short, and then to prioritize those and to make sure that we're resourcing the way that we should. You know, it's often said that patrol is the backbone of the agency. Well, it doesn't look like a very strong backbone when we have, you know, 107, 108 officers when you have when you account for officers who are off on injury or sick, and then we have 50, almost 60 officers assigned outside of patrol. So we need to really staff where our priorities are. There will be, particularly in the beginning of this transition, there will be impacts, and we're going to work to mitigate those as we go. Obviously, we're maintaining the precinct model and mindset, but the benefit of this model, you know, currently we have precinct north and a precinct south that have limited resources. They have some NROs, they have some investigative resources, but they don't really have that 24-hour resource. If there's a problem at 2 in the morning in this park in that area, they have to rely on patrol to go and address that. This is going to converge those two. So we're going to have the patrol assets under that geographical command. I'm sure that there's going to be some pinch points, but our goal is to address some of the internal concerns with our employees, with the burnout, with the overtime that is unwanted and mandatory, as well as to increase our response to those levels 1, 2, and 3 calls, which are really some of the most important services we provide to the community.
Yeah, I'm really excited by you know what you all have been working on. I know it's, you know, many hours have gone into this, many good minds working on this, trying to come up with something. And I appreciate what you're doing when we talk about the level of service. You know, every single one of us up here probably has been engaged in something where it was like, man, I wish that could have been a little bit quicker. And it's not necessarily because we don't want to do it quicker. There are just constraints on what we have. And so we're doing the best with what we've got. And I really appreciate that. 69 officers is not a small amount. I mean, that's a 20% increase basically from where we're at right now, which is a big step up. And so, you know, that's going to require a fair amount of money. You know, I know that we have been engaged on where can we find that money to where we can, as a city, really, you know, put our money where our mouth is and invest in the public safety of the city. And needs is not just going to come from hiring officers. We know that we need officers, but on top of officers, when we're adding 70 officers, we're going to need space, we're going to need vehicles, we're going to need equipment. And what I've heard, you know, particularly on Monday night, I heard a lot of agreement up here that we are severely understaffed when it comes to the police. And so I'm looking forward to the time when we get to sit down and look at our budget and really invest in the public safety in this community, because it's what they deserve. It's how, you know, it's one of the main functions for government is keeping the community safe. And so I hope that at the end of this year, when we really go forward with the budget, that we have something good to present to the community to say that we're really, you know, not just acknowledging this, but putting our money where our mouth is and investing in you. So thank you for everything you guys are doing, and I hope we can take some good steps forward for the community.
Thank you very much, Councilman Bingle.
A moment left here, so.
Just quickly, so thanks so much for the creativity on it. I think the big issue is going to be for council is budget issues. And so there's the 69 officers, but there was a lot more higher ranking people in order to do your model. And so it's not just the number. So I think as early as possible, if you can get us financial analysis of your 154 model and your 198 model, and not just the number of officers, but the vehicles, the equipment, the space, I think we have to look at all of that, because that is going to be our challenge. But I so appreciate that you're thinking outside the box and things like that. So keep up the good work.
And one of the nice things we can do as we've been working on a plan, I've been working on a plan for several months now, basically since I got into office, on how can we really increase our investment into public safety. And so with all of these things, if we were able to find the right amount of money, it is going to take us realistically probably 5 years to bring in 70 officers. That's again if we don't lose any. And so in that time, while we're building up to getting to those 70 officers, in years 1, 2, 3, 4 leading up to that, we can be investing in the space and the equipment and everything that we need. That way, when the 70 officers are fully there, it's not something that we're scrambling to work on, but we can be investing in that proactively. So I'm looking forward to the day that that's what we have. So thank you.
As finance chair, I'm glad everybody's talking about money except me today, so yay.
Okay, with that,
Great, thank
we
you.
will adjourn. Thank you guys very much for the presentation.